Hi, I'm Dion. I'm a black belt. Ha ha ha! And I'm here to tell you an exciting true story about an important episode on the path to liberation for lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. It was the summer of 1977, just 8 years after the famous Stonewall riots in New York City, where LGBT people began to do things in a big way. As the summer of 77 started, LGBT Americans were under attack from a vicious new crusade of hatred and lies, led by an ex-beauty queen, Anita Bryant. A crusade that aimed to eradicate the fledgling LGBT movement and wipe out everything it had gained in the 8 years since the Stonewall riots. But LGBT people who won their first rights of freedom and self-respect were not about to be shoved back into the closet. At the legendary Gay Activist Alliance of New York, they voted to fight back more fiercely than ever. Before they saved the day, they succeeded with a series of spectacular super zaps, the confrontational actions of unprecedented militancy that spurred on the cause of LGBT power and pride in New York and across the nation. The activists realized that minorities who depended on nothing more than the tolerance and goodwill of their fellow humans often suffer. So they were determined to smash the myth that LGBT people are helpless victims. Their bigoted targets that summer called them a brazen gang of thugs, and even get this, homosexual stormtroopers. Amongst their feats that summer, accomplished without injury or arrest, they forced a belligerent, well-known straight bar to remove an axe labeled fairy swatter, an obvious and outrageously incitement to gay bashing, violence, after the straight bar's owner swore it would never come down and tauntingly told LGBT people that nothing you do can change that. The activists decided to show him how wrong he was, and down came the fairy swatter. They did it with a stunning strong-arm takeover of the straight bar that caused New York Magazine to headline, "Militant gays aren't kidding anymore." New York Magazine reported, and I quote, "In the old days, police raided gay bars. Last week, it was a group of whistle-blowing militant gay activists who raised a straight single bar, Jordy's, on the Upper East Side. About 100 demonstrators mobilized by the Gay Activist Alliance drove paying customers from the bar." End quote. The fairy swatter axe was down, and after that much publicized incident, the straight bar's customers never returned and it went broke. Business far and wide got the important message that homo hatred does not pay. It's a business strategy for losers. 13 years later, a Village Voice cover story about a young new generation of activists in groups like ACT UP and Queer Nation reported that the young activists were greatly inspired by, and I quote, "the time 1970 activists took a Manhattan bar that displayed a hatchet over the words fairy swatter," end quote. A week after downing the fairy swatter, the activists of the summer of 1977 struck again. This time they stopped cold. A nationally known and supposedly liberal politician who had suddenly proclaimed himself an LGBT leader, of the anti-LGBT leader, echoing and redoubling the words of Anita Bryant's bigotry and lies, including the despicable, discredited blood libel that being LGBT equals a child molester. The activists ended this powerful politician's dangerous all-out propaganda blitz against LGBT rights, and they silenced his slimy slurs and dehumanizing smears against LGBT people. They did it with a daring commando-style raid at midnight on his posh suburban home. The raid traumatized his household, trashed his property, and got nationwide media coverage. Everywhere from Time Magazine to National Public Radio, including an editorial in New York Times behind "Bats and Bullhorns" that began in these melodramatic words. I quote, "Late one night last week, about 50 homosexuals, many with baseball bats and bullhorns, suddenly appeared around the Scarsdale home of Adam Walensky, exploding firecrackers and shouting threats to burn down his house. When Walensky sought to call the police, they discovered that their phone lines had been cut." End of quote from the New York Times. Remember, there were no cell phones back in 1977 when those lines were cut. A report in the Gannett newspaper added that Walensky's house was pelted, and I quote, rotten eggs, unquote, and that his property was spray painted and vandalized, and all of the LGBT raiders escaped unscathed, with no one arrested. I call that a cause for the queer ninjas of the night. The astonishing midnight raid in suburbia and the manifesto that was posted there sent a warning across America to any who might be attempting to promote prejudice against LGBT people that they do so at their own peril. Also that summer, New York activists by the hundreds picketed at Gracie Mansion, the mayor's official residence. Oh, I've been there. Helping convince voters to throw out a hostile mayor after just one term. An elected mayor who utterly signed into a law a ban on sexual orientation, discrimination in jobs, housing, and public accommodations. And so, the bravery and boldness of LGBT activists began to turn tide against Bryant and bigotry, and the fateful summer of 1977, making it a season of progress despite adversity, and a fitting last hurrah for the Gay Activist Alliance movement. Actually, they were the Gay Activist Alliance of New York, the pioneering organization spawned by the Stonewall riots that succeeded in a few incredibly intense years in changing the world and improving the lives of LGBT people forever. I'm Dion. You can read more about this and the entire book, Summer of 77, by the activist who was there at www.gaynewsandviews.com, a website keeping alive the stories of early activists who made possible the freedom and self-esteem of LGBT people who live today. Thank you. Again, that's www.gaynewsandviews.com.
Okay, let's see what we got.
I'm going to die. I can't do that again. I cannot do that again.
Read it with oomph and
Oh no, hold on. Oh, where is it? Oh, no, girl.
I'll die.
No, it's. Hold on.
Girl, please. Oh no.
Hold on.
I can't do it again. Girl, I'll gag. I can't.
No, it's
so
here.
Hard. Oh, it's young. What's his name?
It's here somewhere. Hold on. My computer. Hold on, let me.
Even though I'm laughing, this is fun. I'm gonna have another drink. I promise I won't molest you or say anything bad about anybody.
Well, I don't look worried. Hold on. Let me see something. Because it was recording. It even.
Oh, I noticed that.
But, I mean, it's always good to do a read-through.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did mess up a couple lines. I just wanted to throw it up there just so we could be like, okay, this is it so far. We're going to do a better one, but just so you can get a loose reading of the script.
You're going to be mad at me.
It is not even there, is it?